WB2 News, Colorado's first news at 9.
It's an easier way to search for an art project from FDR's New Deal, the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, or even Alexander Graham Bell's patent request for the telephone. Colorado teachers and librarians are learning how to call them up with the click of a mouse. Today, educators from kindergarten to high school levels are learning more about accessing the Library of Congress online.
It's really something when you can actually feel like you're touching the Gettysburg Address, and the Gettysburg Address that Lincoln wrote. It's his handwriting, things that he scratched out.
The teachers and those librarians learn to access the more than 7 million digital archives, which are still growing.
And I think we have to think the right jobs for the right tools. That we have to think, what exactly is the 21st century powerful learning experience we want our kids to have? What exactly are the powerful things we want them to be learning? And when we have those really clear in our minds, then we can talk about tools for making them happen. And that's what we're going to be focused on today.
You have in front of you, fortunately, a giant audience of people who live this. All of these students live and breathe technology, and they sit there and they will quite often raise their hands and say, no, you're wrong. I remember in 7th grade when Ms. Pearson came to the front of the class and said, so Historic Denver wants us to make a brochure for the Colfax Marathon. And we said, oh no, podcast, because that's new tech, that's what we're living, and we're enjoying it. And it might not have been something she was working with at the time, didn't completely understand it. But we wanted to do that because we were living it. You don't have to know everything in order to teach it.
Using the words from those who lived at the time, whether it's a song, whether it's an essay, whether it's another piece of writing, will allow you to create terms that will help you search for primary sources in the huge collection of, Sherry, how many million? 19 million? 19 plus million.
I think experiential learning is one of the very, very best tools that we can give to our students today. And so many times with the public systems, I teach in a private school right now, with everything that's going on, we don't have that advantage. We don't have that opportunity. And any time that we can do that, it just takes the learning mode from the classroom, from what they're touching and feeling here, and moving around, what they're seeing through technology. If they go out and they experience it, they see it, they become a part of it.
You know, I think that what I want to leave you with here is the idea that you never know what somebody's passion is going to be, but that passion and the ability to express it in a way that is meaningful to you as well as to others is what makes our students lifelong learners.
The first lesson they should have taught us in kindergarten was that words are magic. Because all you have to do is pass air through your lips and people can read your mind. So be mindful of the spell that you are casting. Because if you speak a dark curse into life, you can destroy someone's soul, even if you were only 5 years old. How long have you been abusing your power? How might we have maneuvered knowing that our marriage was mangled because we misused our magic, and that slavery is passed down when we curse at our kids? Why do you think they call it a tongue lashing? Some black kids learn Willie Lynch before they learn the alphabet. Then we wonder why their reading scores hang below the others. Who needs jails and institutions when you can hear him speak and know that the child's already trapped inside the language of his mother? But if the intent that orders the words decides the spell that is spoken, just change the order and intent, and that spell can be broken.
We were talking about this, you know, lovely, when you always have your classroom and you're right in the middle of something and who walks in but your administrator with 5 guests. And this happened because we were looking at Angry Birds off of my little iPad, and it's up on the screen and in walks the superintendent. That went over ever so well. Now I'm lucky because our superintendent in Adams 12 is a pretty good thinker, and Chris Godowski's really great, and he looks at it and he says, well, you want to explain that one? And I said, well, I'm not going to explain it. Let's have the kids explain it. And so one of my students stood up and said, you know, Mr. Godowski, we have to learn all this stuff, but we'd rather learn it that way. Well, we know that. We know that kids are engaged in games. We know that this keeps their attention. But then he said, well, give me the value of that, because for me, that's a game. They said, oh, it's not about the game. It's about the fact that you give us multiple tries to learn something before you tell us we don't know it. Wow. Okay, out of the mouth of a 7-year-old.